All right. What would you like to talk about today?
Talk about process reflection if you think that would be good. And then something I was thinking about yesterday and today is, if this is too broad, you can tell me, ways to be patient with developing my time here and developing habits of being with older people. The way I was describing it to Katie on the way when I got home yesterday was kind of one of those moments. I was like, "Look, you've been doing this for like 3 weeks. You need to like take a step back." And so trying to not that prayer isn't a very worthwhile thing to do in those moments, but also maybe some other practical steps of understanding that it's going. I'm also growing in all of this. So, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So after 4 weeks of CPE, you're telling me you don't have it mastered yet.
Yeah, I know, and it sounds like I sound like a
What's
jerk.
wrong with you? What's wrong with you, Sean?
Right? Seriously. Man.
So, let me ask you a question about the self-expectation.
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect out of yourself as far as taking on something new? What is your goal in trying something new?
I want to learn.
Okay.
And I want to always look to improve in some way. I know I always have room to grow. We all do. And so I think that part is why, starting something is fine. It's the expectation for how quickly I grow while I'm in it. Which isn't fair to anybody, because how am I supposed to know what barometer to use for that growth? But I think I've felt it more in this particular area because it's been so long since I've gone into something that I had no background in before.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the last time I did that was when I tried to do Hebrew in seminary. And that one, at least, after the first quiz, I was like, if we pass, that is going to be a success story. And so, I don't think I look at CPE that way. Like, I'm not trying to just pass CPE.
But what does success look like right now?
Well, right now, if I take a step back and I'm thinking about it, success would be that each week I'm applying the things that I'm learning in class. I think sometimes I get caught up in whether the conversations I have with people go as well as they possibly can, and that would be what success looks like. But I think a more realistic thing is that I am presenting myself in a way that people trust me, and that is true to who I am. And so in that sense, I'm doing just fine.
Okay.
I think I'm being myself, even if myself is awkward in some of my interactions, because that can happen. And I genuinely care about where people are at, and folks seem to be willing to talk to me about things. I think it's hard to stay there and not get into what could I have done. Monday morning quarterback. What could I have done differently? Skull, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a rough game, wasn't it?
It was.
It's expectations that we often place on ourselves, at least, I don't know, I shouldn't talk so broadly. Expectations that I put on myself. I've come to realize that I have a pretty strong fantasy life. I'm going to set the world on fire. I'm going to be the best they've ever seen, and that has not worked out.
Yeah.
That just hasn't worked out. So how do we manage our self-expectations in order to manage our anxiety, our performance anxiety?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and thank you for naming it that way, because that is what it feels like. Yep. And I'm trying to think for other things. I make the joke a lot, like with preaching, for example, that like if no heresies were said, like there's a Mendoza line. Like I have not harmed anybody. It was fine. I think it was funny how everybody was so tired yesterday. I'd also had a pretty strong week of working the week before, and I don't think I'd ever, I preached and that it went really well and that was good, and then to wake up the next morning and be like, and you're back. Like there's no like, congrats, you get a break now. It's like, get back out there. I think that was